Life Solutions. Had a bit of a little problem getting started for some reason. Let me go ahead and fix this camera while everybody comes in. And I'm going to chop it up with everybody and kind of talk about today's topic, which we're going to focus on. Why are relationship topics so popular on YouTube, particularly in Black YouTube, which I'm involved in? And I know this channel is pretty much a channel that can cater to all demographics, all walks of life. But I want to focus on the popularity of talking about relationships. And I want to explore with you all from a therapist perspective and analysis given by me of why relationships, topics on relationships are so triggering. It's also a money maker. It's a YouTube cash cow. It's fueled what is called the gender war on YouTube or social media. It fuels a lot of emotion. You get a lot of videos, people reacting, counter reacting. Um, Relationship. If you look at trending topics on YouTube or Google, you will find in the top 10 or 15 it may have something to deal with somebody's relationship, whether it is a celebrity or if it is an athlete, celebrities, popular YouTuber, or some particular mental health related topic that's popular, some divorce, somebody's cheating on somebody getting a divorce settlement, um, something dealing with relationships uh, appears to be always at the top on the list of things that people search for on a daily basis. Okay? So once again, this is D Durrell with D Durrell Life Solutions. Today we're going to talk about why relationships are so popular, the issues of relationships, um, on discussing relationships, why is it so popular on YouTube? And there's a variety of reasons. And so I would like to say that one of the biggest reasons relationship topics are so popular is because most of the people who are talking about them failed in relationships. They have issues in their relationships. And the topics itself attracts people who have issues in relationships. When I was operating in other spaces, particular red pill spaces, where I kind of started off a little bit, combating a lot of their extremist views and theories, what I found is that there were certain markers, there were certain characteristics that a lot of these people had, particularly the black men. And then I found out as more women got into the space, the women had equally the same amount of issues. Um, the space had very few married men and women. Married men and women were the minority. Also, I noticed that married men and women, um, when we would try to talk to them about maintaining long term relationships, uh, discussing to them the sacrifices and the work that needs to be put into it, um, unfortunately, the responses could be hostile. And when you operate in certain spaces like that, like myself, I started out very contained and composed. And, once I got tired of people disrespecting me, and then I found myself lashing out, and I got accustomed to roasting and saying all kinds of things because I wasn't necessarily operating as a therapist totally, although I was a go to person to speak on specific things, particularly black male mental health and how black men approach relationships. I did not speak from a red pill standpoint. I didn't speak from a manospheric standpoint. I spoke from a professional standpoint. And in doing so, that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. But I want us to understand that relationship topics will always be a moneymaker because it's so broad. It's so broad, and we have to understand that there are more people who are unhappy in relationships than those who are happy. Okay, and the people who are unhappy have a tendency to voice the reasons why they're unhappy more than people who are happy in their relationships. And let me give you an example. Have you ever noticed, guys, on social media that you never hear married men and women, excuse me, you never hear or you never witness married men or women expressing how great their relationship is? You rarely see that. You know, married people understanding what it takes to keep their relationship, they don't allow people to get in their business, and they keep whatever great relationship they have to themselves. Now there are people who do speak and talk about, you know, I've been married for 10 years, 15 years, 5 years. This is how I maintain my relationship. You know, my husband does this for me. I do these things. This is what works. There are reasonable people who will, from time to time, get online and they will talk positive about their relationship. But that's the minority. It's a distant second, and I'm stating it from a different. It's a far, far distant second compared to those who are unhappy. That 98% of the content is on people who are unhappy in their relationships, 2% of people who are happy in their relationship. What's up, Bronzeberg? Man, I ain't seen you in a long time, man. I check you out in the clouds at least once or twice, well, at least once a week, once or twice a week. Appreciate you for coming in. So, that, in my opinion, is the biggest reason why you will see so many people, and it's always the single people who are horrible at relationships, who are giving the most opinion, who are giving the opinions, who are always giving these opinions. It's not the happily married man who don't want anybody in his business, who keeps his business to himself, is not going around telling everybody how great his wife is. It is definitely and most definitely not the married woman who knows that there are women who don't mind, who don't mind giving it up to a married man, and they definitely don't want to put themselves out there speaking on their husband because that attracts other women. Okay, and so this is the reason why it's a big imbalance as it relates to relationships. What's up, Turn Up TV? Appreciate you for coming in. And so we're gonna get a large daily diet of people in their car, people somewhere. How you doing, Stephanie? People somewhere talking about, whether they're in their home, at work, in their car most of the time, in the park, in their little YouTube space where they create content, and they're going to speak on why men do this, why men don't do this, why women don't do this, women should do this, men should do that. This is the reason. And to be honest with you, the hustle is real, guys. The hustle is so real that I did talk about relationships, and I did accumulate when I had my first channel, when I left the Umar Johnson sector and went back to the manosphere and did those type of that content in 2020. I made a lot of people upset with the content that I was stating. And one of the things that they got upset with me about, because I was speaking not only as a therapist, but also as a married man, I talked about that the single people should be the ones talking the least. The people who are repetitively losing relationships, who are consistently traumatized and not getting the proper help, are not allowing themselves to heal, you should be the least to talk about relationships. And I was speaking from a professional standpoint and as a married man for now over 20 years. Okay? And it was not received very well. Okay? Because there was a sense of alienation that a lot of particularly black men in that space felt when less than 5% of the people who participate in that sector are married, and they speak from a perspective that they were unable to relate from. How you doing, Juju? She laughing. Look, y'all know what I'm talking about. Brownsburg and Juju, you all definitely, because you rock in that space, okay, with me. And I've been knowing you all for a second. She said, all right. And so the people who are the worst at relationships, they have the most creative thumbnails, the most creative titles, okay? They're the most consistent with creating the optics of a entertaining channel. And because they are so emotionally vested, okay, and they're also doing it for economic reasons, okay, they will put in the work to popularize their YouTube channel. And so most people are going to watch, okay? Shout out to Bless. She say, I'm glad you're saying this. This is true. This is so true. And Stephanie Collins stated, I stopped going to the lead attorney channel because of that very thing. The lead attorney, who I think, the lead attorney is not married. He's actually divorced. And he's been divorced for a second. The lead attorney is a marriage. He's a family attorney. Okay? Who's actually very good at what he does. And he's very good at his channel and teaching courses. He has applied his legal acumen to actually a more profitable career as a content creator. Although, I'm sorry, I mean, he's been an attorney for 20 years. You're not going to make the money you made as an attorney on YouTube. This is not a 20-year career for the lead attorney. That's just not going to happen. I think that he has saved his money. He's in his mid to late 50s, and he probably has accumulated a certain amount of wealth that he took this risk, and he probably has other investments and sources of income that he can afford to do this. Bless stated, a lot of them show narcissistic behavior behind their mask. Stephanie said it was more of his chat. His chat is goofy. Yeah, well, his chat is red pill. There's a lot of red pill supporters, and that's one of the reasons. So when we talk about why it's so popular because there's more people who are not married than those who are married. And married people mind their business. Married people feel like I'm not going to tell you the good or bad or the ugly about my relationship unless they are propelled to by somebody saying something so outlandish that they have to course correct, which is something that I have done. The red pill space itself, I'm going to say any space. If you look at any sector on YouTube, particularly in black YouTube, the majority of the people are not married. Not only that, the majority of the people are either between relationships or struggling to maintain a long-term relationship. Okay? Juju states, I think there are many pretend married people on here. And that's also a situation, and you don't know who's really married or not. But what I can say, some of the most toxic situations that I have seen with married people, with people who are really married, and when they exposed their marriage on YouTube. And I know Bronsberg and Juju, I know of two relationships where their marriage was exposed on YouTube, the good, the bad, and the ugly, especially the bad and the ugly. And it was not a great sight. I didn't comment on it. I didn't do any content on my D-Darrell Live channel because I don't like talking about people who are married, really married, and they're airing out their issues on YouTube. There's at least two I know of that it got really, really ugly. And then also you have pretend content creators who pretend to be married and they're not legally married, but they feel that they're spiritually married, and which doesn't count in all intents and purposes from my perspective. Because, and I've stated this, marriage is a legal document, and you are afforded certain rights and privileges of the other partner financially, legally, and also it's just in all aspects that two single people who are just together, you will not get certain rights. You will not, like inheritance. You have a right to inherit something because of close kin or by marriage. And property. You don't get those things naturally in dating. You get that through marriage. And so I am struggling right now with whether or not I want to dive back into talking about relationships on a weekly basis on this channel. I'm struggling with it so hard because I will be talking about a guy by the name of Jeff St. James, who is now ringing bells all over YouTube right now. And there are people in spaces calling him the red pill therapist. There are people who are all over the place. He became, and this is the foundation of him becoming popular. Okay? Because what he's doing is not unique. Okay? He became popular in spaces because he went against a white feminist channel, if you want to call it a feminist channel. I don't know the women. I don't watch the content. I saw them. I guess they're more feminist in nature. I don't know if they're real feminists or not. But because he gave rhetoric that was articulated in such a way that people who are not therapists like myself, they were impressed. I was not impressed. Be honest with you, I'm debating right now to at least do 5 or more videos on Jeff St. James, and the fact that Jeff St. James is on a slippery slope. Jeff St. James is doing some things and saying some things, in my opinion, that may, and I know and I've seen in some of the content he's talking about, am I risking my license? In a way you are. But I don't think you're going to lose your license due to YouTube, the way you present yourself. Now, what I think can happen is that your association with these spaces, because it can be problematic. And I don't know what the board of Pennsylvania, because that's where he's licensed, even though I have some I am familiar with that board and also with some of the organizations there. He may make a mistake and say some things that would not be looked upon as very fondly by his board. But I don't think he's going to lose clients by this. I don't think he's going to lose his license. People are threatening to contact his board because of and I'm going to be honest. Saying that you are a proponent of some red pill ideology can be problematic. It can be. Um, I pray and I hope that he doesn't do anything that triggers a client of his to say that he used red pill talking points that became problematic in their progress in therapy sessions. That's where the problem will that's where the problem will happen, is if a client, because see people, because see I'm and then if I ever have an interaction with him or be on a book, because I don't do panels anymore like I used to in the past, but if I ever interact with him in some form or fashion, I will school him on how he should be acting from because see I never, be honest with you, when I came on YouTube, I came on as a professional. When I got into other spaces and joined other spaces for entertainment purposes, I kept my professional channel separate, and I operated under another channel, being a YouTube character, which also in itself was seen as problematic to people who wanted to dictate how I function on YouTube. Okay, um, Bless stated I'm a behavioral therapist. Okay, yeah, I practice behavioralism, cognitive behavioral therapy. I do a lot of behavioral shaping, a lot of behavioral simulation, role play, things of that sort. I do a lot of, particularly with children, I do a lot of behavioral therapy. Um, so um, he has been the hottest topic on YouTube in those spaces that talk about relationships. He is not, what I'm saying that he's not doing content on his channel. What he's doing is he's making a lot of people a lot of money by going on their show doing content. He's going on the Lapeef show. He's doing all kinds of other different, larger platforms, and he's making his presence known. Okay, um, I'm watching him with great interest to see how he evolves over. And he's younger. He's been a therapist for like 10 years, and I'm going to do some content on him, and I'm going to talk about as a therapist, because you know, I never presented myself in a professional capacity and acted outside of myself on any YouTube channel. Now, what I have done is I've been in sectors under a certain moniker, under a certain role, and things of that sort, and I act a certain way because that was just part of my character itself, and on that channel. Um, but I've never ever been unprofessional in which I approached a conversation leading with my credentials. I never have, never will. There are people who tried to bait me into things, and unfortunately, I took some abuse. I took a lot of abuse, debates. I took abuse because there were people who thought they understood psychological counseling theories. They don't know what they're talking about. And one of the biggest things, as people talked about relationships, that really, really got me, where I had to kind of sit back a little bit, was the misusage and misunderstanding of behavioral statistics. I don't know why. It just gets me when people just look at raw numbers and percentages, and they overlook everything in a research report, a study. And all they point out is 2 or 3 sentences of something that they agree with, and they give no context, and they go around speaking on this minute, very minor, in my opinion, worthless statistic and they just constantly repetitively beat it in the ground, beat it in the ground, beat it in the ground, and they think that statistics are facts. The outcomes are factual, but no statistic is definitive enough to say if I study the relationship between drug addiction and divorce, doesn't mean that outcome is not going to happen the same percentage all the time. A fact is something that you can validate, you can clarify, you can validate as proof of it. No research study can be replicated and it gives the exact, and I'm going to say this, the exact outcomes and percentages. That doesn't happen. You can study, and this is where you look at trying to find out how reliable something is when you look at research reliability, which they don't understand what research reliability is. When you implement that same study and process over and over again, and you get similar outcomes around the same, outcomes as far as numerically, it's showing it's reliable. It doesn't say that that's factual. What it's saying is that if something occurs over and over and over, there's a likelihood that there's a range of or the possibility of something happening or not happening, and the parameters that contribute to that. Okay? And so when I hear Mr. St. James speak on certain statistics, he's not giving context, and it comes off as fact when it's not facts. And I will speak on that sometime next week. I plan to do content from Monday through Thursday of next week. I'm sorry, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, I plan to be out of town in Dallas. I have to go to Dallas, hopefully Thursday and Friday, on some business. I have some business I need to take care of in Dallas. I'm trying to get that location where it needs to be. We're kind of not there yet where we need to be, but I do have a good staff that I've implemented, so it's now at the second stage of that. But I do plan, guys, to do content talking about his new YouTube presence and how it has basically rejuvenated the gender war, which is not, to me as a therapist, that's not a good thing. What I want to hear are solutions. What I want to hear is psychological process. What I want to hear is theoretical references. What I want to hear is objectivity and not talking points. Your talking points being skewed by YouTube red pill related rhetoric and ideas. Okay? So I will make it a point to talk about relationships because it is popular. But I don't make content because it is popular. I make content because I think the information that I'm giving is needed. And it is a necessity for our community and the society itself to produce more marriages, more healthier marriages, and more healthier family structures across the board. Marriage is at an all-time low, and it has been on a downward trend for all of Americans in any demographic. Divorce is up, marriage is down. Okay? There's a likelihood now that you're more likely to be divorced. It's almost, at one time it was even. You get married, it's a 50-50 chance you get married, you stay married and get divorced. Now it's you have a higher chance to be divorced. Okay? But there's less people getting married. The African American community, only 30% of the men, low 30s, 33% of the men are married. That leaves us with about 67, 65% of the men are not married. There's only 17% of the women. Somewhere between 17 to 15 or 20% of women are being married, which is a problem. That means that you got about almost 83%, 80 to 83% of women are not married. Now, a large percentage of that is because of the 30%, 33% of men who are married. Um, I'd say about 10% of those men are married to women that are not African American. Okay? And African American men are like in the top three group of men who are more likely to marry outside their race. And the statistics go up the more education you have and the higher you climb the social economical ladder. Unfortunately. Unfortunately. Okay? So, again, this is our research. And I enjoy rebuttaling and correcting bad information and research. I make mistakes. I'm not right all the time. But I will not knowingly give you all bad information just to appear right or just to feed my own ego or to prove something to other people. So just to win an argument. I refuse to do that. That's just not my style. Okay? So another reason why relationships are so popular, the topics are so popular, is because YouTube is a dating app. Believe it or not, it is a de facto dating app that is not specifically used for dating. It is for social engagement, and through social engagement, people connect and form relationships. That's why from that connection comes those parasocial relationships that turn into real relationships where people communicate through email, text message, and then they have meetups, and then those meetups could turn to people and phone calls and consistent communication. Okay, this consistent communication, that there are YouTube marriages and there are YouTube divorces, and there are kids who were created through a YouTube union. This is a thing. Okay, and I know of several couples who met on YouTube and they got married. This is a reality, and there are going to be more to come. And as people become more and more comfortable with the usage of social media, and people are very, very comfortable with using social media apps, Facebook was a way, even though people were reuniting with high school sweethearts and all that. I mean, in high school, you know, classmates, they were also reuniting with old, you know, flings of the past and so on. Or let's just say you've been out of school for 15 years and you met a friend, a lady that was a friend of yours, and y'all, you know, you all connected, and you probably didn't even date, had no interest. Some of those interactions lead to relationships and marriages. And so, the engagement, social media is to me one of the ways it's really popular because it is a way for people to meet new people with the possibility of having relationships. Another reason that relationship topics are so popular is because no matter how much research or information or therapy that we find that can improve the relationships between men and women or any type of relationship, there will always be a mystery of men understanding women and women understanding men. There will always, from the beginning of time even to now, there will always be something that we're missing, something we don't understand, something we can't grasp. It's a mystery. There'll always be a mystery. behind black men or just men understanding women and women understanding men. No matter what, no matter how much information, how many books you read, how much therapy sessions you may get, coaching, all these different things. Um, there'll always be a mystery. There will always be something missing that people want to know, want to learn. And because of that, there is a money grab. And I said coaching when I'm talking about relationship coaching, dating coaching, marriage coaching, all of these nefarious titles that people create that are ungovernable by any, that's not governed by any organization or government body. So you can just say, I am something that can help you with something, or a consultant, or what have you, whatever, meaningless title that you may give yourself that has no real value in any industry. But on here, people are searching, so they're just going to seek if you know what you're talking about. And people's primary tool is that we're going to use my personal experiences as a means of helping you. Your personal experiences are irrelevant to my personal experience. And unfortunately, these people are ripping off a lot of people. That the money grab, the economics behind talking about relationships and our aspects of relationship, and the money behind it, and the willingness for people to constantly listen to this and get bad information. And unfortunately, in the field of mental health, because of what we're doing is being clinically driven, the client, most clients will always have hesitancy in seeking true professional help without feeling like I'm inadequate as a person, I'm mentally ill, people are going to think I'm crazy. And because of that, generations and generations of this country having such a negative outlook on mental health, because when people seek the services, they're looked upon a certain way, even though that is slowly decreasing, but it's still highly existent. People are going to always, in some form or fashion, have a tendency to talk to people who are in their social circles, whether it's church, family, friend, boss, or whomever that's relatable to them, that they trust to talk about their issues. Most people think that it is appropriate to talk to their pastor about their issues. And in my professional opinion, it is not. Although having the support of a preacher or clergyman or any religious figure can be seen as therapeutic and beneficial in helping you spiritually get through things. Okay? And I encourage those who have a religious base to attend church and to participate in church activities or religious activities if that is part of their value system. Okay? It won't hurt unless someone in that environment is doing things that they're not trained to do. Then it can become a detriment. Okay? And those are just the facts. So again, guys, appreciate you all for being here. Just wanted to kind of, talk about that and verbalize how relationships are so popular on YouTube, why they're popular, the reason why it's popular, the reason why it will continue to be popular. Okay? And then also, every year, you got people who are becoming adults that are graduating out of high school to adulthood, and they're going through things. And then you got those who are at a certain age, reaching an age where they thought they would be married or should have been married. Okay? I'm 25, why I'm not married? I'm 30, why I'm not married? Right now, as we speak, this year, There's a whole group of millions of women and men who are in their 30s or approaching 30, wondering why they're not married. There are a large percentage of women who are pregnant or men who got someone pregnant feeling like they made a mistake and that person was not the one to have a child with. Okay? As we speak, there are people who are getting divorced, who were married, who are now divorced. Year after year, there's a recyclement. There's a recyclement of these types of occurrences that lead to people wanting to learn and to fuel themselves with as much knowledge about relationships as possible. Okay? Now, I'm a strong supporter of psychoeducation. I feel like even in my role as a therapist in my professional line of work, I don't do enough. I wish I could do more psychoeducation. The psychoeducation can be one of the biggest tools to killing people's negative views and believing fallacies and untruths about relationships. Okay? I want you all to understand nobody came into the world with any perspective on relationships. Relationships are learned through visual observation and experience, okay? And your own personal experience along with culture and roles that are taught to you or reinforced to you from the time you can speak and have an awareness of the environment to the time you are an adult. And so you got years and years of people in my way grooming you and raising you to function a certain way. Boys should do this, men should do this, women should learn this, men should learn this. Okay? And so I understand that in this day and age, we're looking at gender neutrality as it involves gender roles and how people respond and function. That's not going to work for every relationship. Every relationship is different, and what works in one relationship would not work on others. And that leads to another reason why I'm disappointed in hearing this Mr. St. James, is because he speaks as if all women or a majority of them are thinking and behaving in such a way, and that's not true. We have to look at this from a case by case perspective. Okay? So I am looking forward to doing more videos to focus on relationships. Now, it's going to be mixed with other topics that I talk about mental health, because I enjoy dealing with mental health issues. Relationships are mental health related, but it's like a specific specialty in itself. Okay? So, guys, I do want to appreciate you all for being here. I appreciate you all for coming here and having a discussion with me about relationships, and I'm talking about why it is so popular, and it will always remain very, very popular on YouTube and other particular social media apps, is because the majority of people who are watching and who enjoy that type and who feel that they can benefit are single. Married people are not coming on YouTube to seek answers in large scale, but for people who are single, they come to get answers or to understand things by using this application. So with that being said, guys, I appreciate you all for being here. Y'all have a great day. Peace.